Hello friends, it's Nina and welcome back to my channel. Today's video may seem like it's a little early, but I'm a firm believer in getting the most out of your holiday decor. So September 1st basically marks the start of the Halloween season for me. As you can see, I've already started decorating for Halloween. I wanted to film in front of my mantelpiece because I think it turned out really nice. And to help get us geared up for the spooky season, I thought I would go through my TBR of the books I'm planning on reading for the next 2 months. I feel like overall fall is like the perfect time for reading. In the summer, you do have the concept of beach reads, but I feel like there's nothing more picturesque than living the whole dark academia fantasy of drinking hot beverage while wearing a neutral colored sweater and reading a book that makes you feel smart. It's just the perfect viewpoint, and I'm very much ready to live that fantasy. So with that intro out of the way, let's get into the video. So almost all the books that I have on this list are ones I'm going to try and pick up as audiobooks first, and then, depending on their availability, I might switch to reading the physical version. And at the end, we will look at the physical books in my collection I want to add to my TBR as well. The first book we're going to be talking about is Anatomy: A Love Story. This is a YA historical romance horror that is about a girl who works as a grave robber, and it's based around real-life concepts of old-timey medical students going and stealing dead bodies from graves. I heard about this book from Katie Coulson's channel, and she said that the audiobook in particular was really good, because in the end there was an interview with the author that kind of went into a lot more depth about like her research for the book, and it just seemed really interesting. There is a very long hold for this audiobook, unfortunately, at my library. I think it's like 18 weeks or so something tells me I'm probably not going to be able to get to this in audiobook form for this like TBR. If anything, I'm probably going to have to read it as a physical book from my library. But I still like the concept, and it seems interesting enough that I hopefully will enjoy the story regardless. This next book on this list is definitely a classic in the horror genre, and that is Dracula. This is the classic vampire tale that's told in a series of letters. Like a dumbass, I did not do Dracula Daily, but I think I still will enjoy reading the story. And because of Dracula Daily, there's actually like a very vibrant fandom that's come up around Dracula in like the recent months, and I definitely want in on all the hype. I did read Carmilla a little while ago, which is another classic vampire tale, and I'm ready to jump back into another one. The next book on this list is Mexican Gothic. This is a gothic horror, I guess, about a girl who goes to visit either like her sister or her cousin who's recently married into this rich family. Apparently they're very bizarre and keeping a lot of secrets from her. I have no idea if this is like a supernatural gothic horror or a psychological gothic horror, but I do know this book is very highly praised on BookTube, so I'm excited to see what all the hype is about. Next book on this list is one of my personal favorites, and that is Interview with a Vampire. This book is told as an interview with the main character, Louis, going from his life in the 1700s in Louisiana when he gets turned into a vampire by a man named Lestat. I really love the movie. It's definitely like a huge comfort film for me, but I've actually never read the original book. I have read the sequels of The Vampire Lestat and Queen of the Damned, but I've never read the original. And also because the TV show adaptation of Interview with the Vampire is coming out, I figured now would be the perfect time to read it. Next book on this list is The Secret History. This is definitely a classic in the dark academia genre, maybe invented it, some might say. This involves a group of friends in college who I believe are doing like some type of like experimental archaeology, and they end up doing an ancient Greek ceremony that ends up killing one of their friends. It's basically the same plot of If We Were Villains, but with classics instead of Shakespeare. Although I guess it's more the other way around, where If We Were Villains takes the plot of The Secret History and makes it Shakespeare instead of classics. Obviously this book is very popular because of its creation of the dark academia subgenre. I also know it is quite a long book. The audiobook is like 22 hours, so that might be a little bit more for me to physically be able to handle listening to, and instead I'll have to switch to the physical book like halfway through reading. But I am still excited to continue on. I've really enjoyed all the dark academia adjacent books that I've read in the past, so hopefully this one will just be added to that list of favorites. This next book is one I'm very excited for, and that is Slewfoot. This is a horror historical fiction about a woman who something happens to her husband and she becomes an outcast or is accused of being a witch. And then something, maybe it's the devil or another devil-like being that lives in the woods, offers to help her out. People say this is very similar to the Robert Eggers movies The Witch in vibes, except it's touted as being a little bit more feminist. Although I have also seen people kind of, in my opinion, misguidedly label The Witch as a very like female empowerment type of movie, and it's not. So I'm very interested in wondering which side the book actually falls upon. The next book on this list is The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. This is considered a modern classic in the haunted house horror genre. It's about 6 strangers that get invited by this doctor who's trying to do a study on if ghosts are real to this random mansion, and things develop from there. I did read We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson last fall time, and I would love to pick up another one of her books because I really enjoyed that one. I have to say I will definitely be getting the audiobook for this one, because when I was physically reading a sample of the book, I was having a hard time concentrating, and I think an audiobook will let me like immerse myself in the story better. Okay, now we're going to move on to the physical books that I have in my collection that I'm going to try and read soon. The first one I recently got out of the library and is What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. This is a reimagining of the classic Gothic story by Edgar Allan Poe called The Fall of the House of Usher. It's an incredibly short book, almost like novella length. T. Kingfisher is a very, very popular author on BookTube right now, and of their books, this is the one that spoke to me the most in terms of like my interests. And since it's so short, I think this will be like a good kind of like sampler of their writing style to see if I am interested in reading more of their works in the future. The next book I want to add to my TBR is Dark Corner by Brandon Massey. This is a Southern Gothic story about a father and son that hunt vampires. That's a very like dumbed down description because I also believe this uses vampirism as kind of like a metaphor for the residual effects of slavery on the Black community. I've been meaning to read this for a hot minute ever since I first got it, and 'tis the season to be reading books about vampires. And the last book I'm going to be adding for my TBR for the spooky season is Forestfall by Lyndall Clipstone. This book comes out in late September, so I do not have a physical copy yet, but I definitely will be going to a bookstore as soon as it comes out to pick it up. And this is the sequel and the second part of the duology with Lake's Edge, which I feel like I've talked about pretty extensively on my channel. And yeah, I think that the spooky vibes are definitely right and perfect for the season. So that is it for my TBR for September and October. I would love to know what spooky books you are planning on reading for the holiday season. Like I said before, I feel like the fall atmosphere is just like the best time for reading, so I definitely am very like invigorated to add a lot of books to my TBR. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Please let me know if you enjoyed this video in the comment section down below. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye!